Good evening. You're watching the 7 o'clock English news from the Sultanate Oman Television. First, the headlines. His Majesty the Sultan sends cable of great condolences to His Excellency the President of Islamic Republic of Mauritania. The Shura Council discusses Ministers of Finance and Economy in the drafts of State's General Budget of the coming year and the 10th five-year plan. Oman LNG increases its production in last year by 10%. And in Britain on track for the spring rollout after AstraZeneca and Oxford vaccine results. Those are the headlines, and now the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq sends cable of condolences to His Excellency President Sheikh Mohammed Oud al-Sheikh Ghazouani of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania on the death of former Mauritanian President Sidi Mohammed Oud Sheikh Abdullah. The members of the Shura Council had today in a private session the statements of His Excellency the Minister of Finance and His Excellency the Minister of Economy on the draft of the State's General Budget for the fiscal year 2021 and the draft of the 10th five-year development plan 2021-2025. During the session, the two statements emphasized the importance of financial sustainability of the State's General Budget, noting that the decline in state revenues was due to the decline in oil prices and the adverse economic effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. At the same time, they emphasized that the State's General Budget of 2021 takes into account the fulfillment of basic services in the fields of education and health. They also pointed out that employment will be according to the availability of financial capabilities and the need of government bodies to do so, in addition to the fact that the government will seek to create job opportunities for citizens in the private sector. The session also witnessed the delivery of an urgent statement from the Board of Education and Scientific Research Committee on the challenges of blended and distance learning in light of the COVID-19 pandemic and its impact on education. The Shura Council participated in the 14th meeting of the Excellencies, the heads and representatives of the Shura and the National Councils in the GCC, which is organized by the House of Representatives in the Kingdom of Bahrain via video call. During the meeting, a number of issues related to the Gulf European Parliamentary Committee and the Common Gulf issues were discussed, as well as the proposal to form a committee for cooperation with the parliaments of Latin American countries, in addition to developments in the legislative and monitoring work in the GCC countries. The meeting discussed the proposal to form a committee for cooperation with the parliaments of Latin American countries and the continuation of contacts to hold meetings between the Gulf countries and the Latin American and Caribbean group on the sidelines of the meetings of the International Parliamentary Union. The Shura Council was represented by the meeting by His Excellency Sheikh Khalid bin Hilal Al Maali, Chairman of the Shura Council. The Office of the Deputy Prime Minister for the International Relations and Cooperation Affairs and the Special Representative of His Majesty the Sultan, represented by Al-Bashir Square of the Arab Camels in the Wilaya of Adam in the Governorate of Al-Dakhiliya, organized a camel race to mark the 50th National Day. From the race, which started this morning, lasts for 3 consecutive days and includes 46 rounds for different age groups, with participation of 2,520 camels from the Sultanate and the Gulf Cooperation Council countries. Oman Liquefied Natural Gas LNG has confirmed that it has managed to raise production rates by 10%, the lowest estimate in the conjunction with an increase in the gas consumption around the world. The CEO of the company, Harib bin Abdullah Kitani, said the increase in production rates is due to the strategic projects that the company has embarked on with the aim of enhancing productivity, including the factory renewal project and the raising the efficiency of productivity and the energy project currently being implemented, which contributes to achieving exceptional production rates of 10,701,000 metric tons last year, and the delivery of an unprecedented number of 166 shipments. Eighteen people were recently admitted into intensive care unit in the Royal Hospital, as the medical staff said that some patients were in ICU for more than 60 days. The doctors noticed that some recovered COVID-19 patients are showing some complications with their lungs. It's worth mentioning that since the start of the pandemic, the number of patients in ICU in the Royal Hospital reached 515. The fatalities rate among those in ICU reached 30%. Meanwhile, the efforts continue to combat the COVID-19 pandemic by the medical cadres all around the Sultanate, with hopes that an end to the pandemic is imminent. The Ministry of Health announced that the total number of COVID-19 cases registered in the Sultanate reached 122,356, while the total number of deaths reached 1,386. The total recovered cases reached 113,577. The ministry indicated that the total number of inpatients reached 256 cases, of which 122 cases are in intensive care units. The coronavirus has killed at least 1,039,000 people since the outbreak emerged in China last December. There were 7,157 new deaths and 511,114 new cases recorded worldwide in the previous 24 hours. The United States is the worst affected country with 256,798 deaths, followed by Brazil with 169,183, India with 133,738, Mexico 101,676, and the United Kingdom with 55,024 deaths. The coronavirus vaccine developed by drug firm AstraZeneca and Oxford University has shown 70% effectiveness in trials involved 23,000 people. They said in a statement today that the announcement comes after other trials of drugs developed by Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna announced effectiveness above 90%. The results ranged between 62 and 90% efficacy, depending on the vaccine dosage, according to today's statement. AstraZeneca Chief Executive Pascal Soriot said his firm's vaccine would still be highly effective and would have an immediate impact. The firm said it would look to develop up to 3 billion doses of the vaccine in 2021 if it passes the remaining regulatory hurdles. Still to come on News Bulletin. More than 300 Omani sculptors take part in designing a huge sculpture for the project Tilal al-Ifran. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman Television. The Governorate of Al-Lahira witnessed a number of development projects and achievements in the past 50 years of blessed renaissance. In the era of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq, the development march continues to serve country and citizens. 50 years have passed since late Sultan Qaboos, may Allah rest his soul in peace, started the march of the blessed renaissance back in 23rd of July 1970 and exerted great efforts to modernize this beloved country and make the life of its loyal citizens better. In the Governorate of Lahira, a number of schools, institutes, colleges and universities were established to provide education services for the students of the three wilayas of the Governorates. In terms of health services, there are 2 government hospitals in the Wilayah of Ibri and Yanqul, in addition to 15 health centers distributed in the Governorate. All main services are also available in the Governorate of Al-Lahira, as the roads that connect it to other governorates of the Sultanate and the Gulf Cooperation Council countries. There are also a number of vital projects in development in the governorates, such as the strategic project of water transportation from Sohar desalination plant to the Governorate of Al-Lahira, as the completion percentage of the project reached 58%. The agriculture sector, along with the Omani youth, are also within the priorities of the government as the development march continues in Oman under the wise leadership of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq. The expenses of the health sector of the total government expenditure reached 5.7% by the end of 2019. The National Center for Statistics and Information clarified that the contribution of the health sector in the gross domestic product reached more than 843 million Omani riyals. It pointed out that the average monthly expenditure and consumption of an Omani family in medical care reaches 9 Omani riyals. Meanwhile, the Governorate of Muscat came as first place, as the expenditure was around 1.5%. The Industrial Innovation Center signed an agreement with Al Mudar Al Ahliya Company to establish the Pottery Innovation Unit. The signing of the agreement comes within the framework of the center's role in promoting the pottery sector and enhancing the investment in it, as well as supporting the entrepreneurs of craftsmen and developing traditional crafts in line with the Sultan's aspirations to diversify sources of income and exploit its natural resources in a way that contributes to the improvement of the Omani traditional crafts in the Sultanate. The Ministry of Education organized the Citizenship Education Virtual Forum. It came in response to the Oman Vision 2040 in terms of achieving values of citizenship, identity and heritage, so as to keep up with the latest global developments in this field. The forum shed light on the studies and researches as well as future visions regarding citizenship education. It aimed to spread the culture of citizenship among the members of the community, in addition to build a database in this regard. The Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Investment Promotion continued activities of the Made in Oman campaign by launching Omani products corners at the number of commercial centers in the Governorate of Muscat. The campaign aimed to support Omani industry through induction and promotion, in addition to encourage local consumers to purchase the Omani products. More than 300 Omani sculptors took part in designing a huge sculpture which will embody the project of Tilal al-Irfan. The project represents the fruitful cooperation with the private sector to attract those with design ideas regarding development projects as part of the Oman Vision 2040. The project will serve tourism, entertainment and housing sectors to enhance the in-country value of such sectors. The participants in the National Arts Competition showcased their skills and talents in the designing and arts field. This is the Sultan of Oman Television. Before tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq sends cable of condolences to His Excellency the President of Islamic Republic of Mauritania on the death of former Mauritanian President Sidi Mohammed Ould Sheikh Abdullah. The Shura Council discusses Ministers of Finance and Economy in the drafts of State's General Budget of the coming year and the 10th five-year plan. Oman Energy increases its production last year by 10%. And Britain is on track for spring rollout after AstraZeneca and Oxford vaccine results. And with that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin from all of us here in the newsroom and the studios. Thanks for your time. Good night.